on a qualifying final win at home. It took a while to get that lead back. I think it was the 5th minute of the first quarter was the last time you had the lead, and you got in the last couple of minutes. But what do you make of that performance?
I just probably wanted to firstly acknowledge GWS. I mean, they were fantastic. Like, they were fierce, and in the tackle, in the contest, they were really hard and clean, and they were tough. It was a really good game, and they came out and they were played a really strong brand of footy. Couldn't fault it at all. So. And we were a bit below it, and we needed to get back to match it. Their pressure was just through the roof. They did everything I'd imagine that they'd wanted to in that regard. They did so much right, and it took us a bit of time. We weren't winning the contest that they were winning probably for the first 2.5 to 3 quarters. They were in the 50-50s. We weren't winning as many as we would have liked, but we weren't even breaking even as much as we should have in the air or on the ground. And then we did have a lot of good players. There was probably Lloydie and Harry Cunningham. A few, Haynes I thought was just enormous. And then, so we had to sort of limit the damage a little bit when they had a bit of the footy, and we were able to do that. And then our last quarter was enormous. And, I've talked about over the last 3 or 4 weeks finding different ways to win. And we played some super footy in the first half of the year, but in some ways I was happier with the last 3 weeks. Probably didn't sound like it when I was asked the question. Probably people didn't expect me to say that but I was just happy that we were able to grind out, because this is what it's about. It's about sometimes when you're not playing that well and the opposition are on song, and you've got to hang in there and grind it out, and then we're able to do it and then go, which was fantastic. You
mentioned Isaac. He had a couple of really important moments at the end of that second quarter to get that one-hand mark, your first inside 50, that mark to start the third quarter, and then obviously the goal to bring it level. I mean, it's one of the better finals performances we probably ever seen.
Yeah, and they're the ones that stand out, and I saw so many more contests and around the ground, and they're the ones that clearly people remember, but geez, hard. He's a genuine tough player. And he's grown enormously, and his ability to lift and to play well and keep rowing the boat, and we don't have to be in great form for him to do it. He just keeps going, and it's a real credit to him.
John, every team's sort of trying all year to put together 4 quarters of football. Even in the times when you guys are winning games, you sometimes weren't doing that. Didn't do that tonight, but you finished top of the ladder, and you won game from a prelim final. How do you sort of square that in your mind?
Well, it's pretty tough competition, have you noticed?
Yeah.
That's why. You're not going to go out and win 4 quarters these days. Very rarely are you going to do that. And I just think as people watching, you need to sort of understand how hard it is. It's hard to maintain that sort of level of footy. You're going to, the whole competition is designed to not do that, not win 4 quarters of footy. So you're fighting against gravity all the time. And that goes through the course of the year, regardless of how well you've played previously. At some point, you've got to find another way, and you're not going to win every quarter of footy. You just got to hang in, and as I said, that's why I was pleased with some of the wins we had at the back end. You just needed to hang in. You need to be hard and tough and gritty, and that's what I was pleased about.
John, you mentioned obviously you need a good opponent and you need a good rival. Tonight it was just one of the great derbies. What is it that just makes this derby so special for you as a coach? And you've been involved with a few with your colleague here as well.
Yeah, Leon. 2 good teams. I think they're a really good footy team and have been for a long time. When Leon was there and now under Adam, they're a very, very good footy team. Very good footy team. They've always been well coached. They've always played a strong brand. They're hard. They're a very good footy team. And so, and we saw that tonight, and we've got to be at our best and we know that, our players know that, both players from both clubs know that they've got to be at their best to compete, and then you get games like you do, and they're amazing games of footy, and probably I think the crowd realised that too. I mean, they were probably one of our best players in the last quarter. The crowd is just amazing. I've said it a few times this year, but to help the boys over the line that last quarter, the crowd were enormous, and the atmosphere here has been electric, and I can't thank them enough either.
How good was it to have Tom Hadley back with energy?
Yeah, well, he's just a gun. He's a good player. Has been for a very long time, and I thought he was really good tonight. He's kicked a couple of goals, but he won some important was a 1-on-3 or 1-on-2 or 1-on-3 there in the last quarter. The ball went up in the air, and I thought, possibly one of the shortest players on the ground was up against 2 or 3 in the air, and he just did enough to neutralise it, and that's what he is. He's a massive competitor. He just loves competing, and that's why we love him.
Justin McInerney was also back?
Yeah. Look, he was a bit quieter, but he's he's just getting back into the swing of things. We played BJ as a sub tonight. He didn't. He trained on Tuesday. He trained. He was really restricted in his training. He had a sore groin, so he wasn't able to get through training he was able to get through, but barely on Tuesday. So we're tossing up whether to play him or not. And he lost his granddad unfortunately on Thursday night, who he's really close with, and we want him to still play because he's been terrific the last few weeks. But he had a couple of things going against him this week as far as how he was feeling and what had happened to him. So I saw he and Hannah, his sister, after the game, on the ground there, and that's a pretty special moment for the family.
John, just throwing it forward, you've obviously got a well-deserved week break ahead of the prelim. What does it mean? It's pretty obvious, but what does it mean to have that prelim back here in front of a pumping SCG?
Yeah, it's we can't wait for it. We want to enjoy what tonight's about. We're going to work on our training, get our training really sharp and hard. I think we need a little hard block coming up this week, and so we need a solid workout this week, and that's what we'll do, and plan for a home prelim final. We played here a couple of years ago against a pretty good team, and the crowd were enormous that night as well, and I'm sure they'll be enormous in a couple of weeks' time.
Just a word on Jake Lloyd, obviously one of the unsung heroes of this team.
Yeah.
He loves a qualifying final goal. He did the same against Melbourne in, I think, 22 to get you guys into the home prelim. I mean, what is about his role and his, I guess, selfless and tireless attitude, but also getting a moment like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. The younger boys and probably the midfield guys get a bit of acknowledgement outside of the footy club. I thought Harry Cunningham tonight, Daniels is a star, and Lloydie, he's just been a good player for this footy team for a long time, and it means a lot to him. And he was really effective for us tonight. He was important in a lot of big moments. He was going well when we weren't going well as a team, and he was consistent for the whole game.
Lewis Melican came from the ground early in the game, looked like pointing at his ribs or something from one of those contests, but obviously played out and really grew into it. Is he all good there?
I think so, yeah. The docs haven't said anything, so I think so.
And John, obviously, you have a great squad depth. The substitute who came on, Bren Campbell, really made a big impact. If you could just reflect on his contribution tonight. Yeah,
well, I just mentioned that he would have been in the 22, only he had a tough week. We've been really pleased with how he's been going over the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's been really good, and to come on in the last quarter and have 8 or 9 possessions and win some big moments, some big 50-50 moments, be hard and clean after a pretty tough week injury-wise, and then what was happening off field for him, and is a great credit to him, and really should be a proud moment for he and his family. The way he did that was a special moment. They lost obviously a loved one during the week, and for them to be able to sit down as a family tonight and reflect on how BJ's grandfather impacted him and the family is, I think, a pretty special moment for them.
Just on
What was the call Taylor Adams this week?
They're all difficult. Yeah, there's no easy ones. And we just had some really good players coming back in. The 4 that we had coming back in, it's pretty hard to leave those 4 out. And the other guys were doing pretty good jobs for us, and we, Taylor hasn't been playing poorly. It was just a case of, those guys coming back in, we needed to make room for them. So his attitude was superb. Probably had a chat with him earlier in the week, and he's been terrific. So his experience and who knows what happens the next few weeks. You've got to be on top of your game, and all those guys will need to be ready to go because that's just the nature of the game.
What about Joel and Marty? Did you get to have a chance to have a chat with him at half time or 3/4 time? Because it wasn't certainly wasn't his best game, but then had that moment at the end, which mattered a fair bit.
Yeah, he wasn't a certainty to play either. He rolled his ankle on Thursday after training, so we probably thought he might have been missing. We had those are the stories you probably don't know. He was just doing some extra marking on Thursday and rolled his ankle and didn't think he was going to play. Millsy had gastro, was crook as a dog tonight, but those are the things, and I'm sure the opposition have the same stories, and that's when the opposition, when teams are in this time of the year, every team in the final series has those, and sometimes you've got to find a way and get through it and just get the job done.
On James,
Last one, guys.
On
Thanks.
James Jordan as well tonight. Some of those effort plays really kind of summarised why you were keen to get him to the club at the start of the year.
Yeah, he's been superb for us. He's incredibly disciplined, but he's also a terrific runner. And we changed some roles during the course of the game, and some worked, some didn't. And we changed some more in the last quarter, and we put him in the midfield, from where his role was playing, and he played up the ground further. And he was able to run. He's an elite runner. And I thought there were some important moments with, he and Chad and Haynes and those guys, they're all really running hard in that last term. And he was one of those guys that was running hard. We love the way he goes about his job.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.